With Peterson Publication came to me and said, Ford has a new small block V8. And you might put something together with them. And I also knew that AC had lost their deal with Bristol Engine. So I called AC and asked them if they were interested in building a couple of chassis. And I ran into Dave Evans from Ford, who was out here on the mobile economy run, and he took me back to Don Fry, and Don Fry took me to Lee Iacocca, and I told him if they give me $25,000, I'd build a couple of prototypes that'd blow the Corvette off in the weeds. Iacocca looked at me kind of funny, but I got the $25,000. I put the first car together, and I told him that I needed some help management-wise, that I knew what I wanted to build, but I needed infrastructure, and they gave me a guy named Ray Geddes, who was a lawyer and a CPA, and we took over Reventlo's facility. And thank God for Bob Tasca and a bunch of other people at Ford. They helped me get off the ground. Took two of them back there for before 4,000 dealers in 1962, that fall, and they both blew up. They made us sit there till they started steaming before they let us drive them by the dealership in front of the 4,000 dealers. I figured, well, this deal's over with Ford. But anyway, Iacocca stayed with me. And the other day I was down at his house talking to him, and we were laughing about some of the things that have happened over the years, you know, with Ford and the other companies. And but that's the way it started with Ford. We had great enthusiasm. We were blowing the Corvettes off in the weeds. All we had to do was show up and would beat them. We had customers couldn't drive very well to blow the Corvettes off, much less our team. But I knew that I had to in the back of my mind going to Europe, the World Championship at the time for GT cars. I felt wonderful about us winning 1, 2, and 3 in '66. But Ken Miles, we made a horrible decision in saying the 3 cars come over exactly together. It was good politically for Ford, so I couldn't argue with it. Besides that, I worked for Ford, and I'm not going to go against Henry Ford. '67, bunch of guys that didn't know anything about racing were still in the racing department, and they talked Leo Beebe into putting a bunch of dirt track racers into the cars at Le Mans. And Foyt and Gurney were the least likely winners. And we were given them, and everybody thought they'd blow up. Well, they didn't. Gurney did a beautiful job of not showing Foyt how fast the car would go, and Foyt did a fabulous job in driving within his limits, realizing that 24 hours is a long time, taking care of the engine, taking care of the gearbox and so forth. But the real deciding factor in '66 and '7 was the fact that Phil Remington, the old hot rodder, pre-war hot rodder that made the Cobra what it was, it wound up, didn't have one bolt in it from AC cars when we finally put it back together and got it in racing trim. And he figured out how to change the rotors in 1 minute. When we took off from the starting line in '66 and '67, we weighed 4,000 pounds with a driver and a gasoline. Kinetic energy at the end of that 3.5 mile straight was so high from the brake temperatures and so forth that the brakes would have probably lasted 2 or 3 hours, and that would have been all. But he figured it out. That was the key to us winning the race in '66 and '7. Of course, there's a lot of other work. We had engines, gearboxes that lasted. We had some very good people taking care of the cars. But the fact that we could change the brakes in 1 minute was the key. Ford won 4 straight years at Le Mans, and Henry said after 67, says, okay, I've proved to General Motors and Chrysler that broke the agreement that we had that we were capable of going racing and winning the greatest races in the world. We've won Indianapolis, we've won Le Mans, we've won the World Championship. There's nothing else to win. Let's take care of the safety and emission problems that we have before us now. So racing went away for years, for practically 20 years. Because of Edsel Ford, Ford has always maintained the last 50 years a prominent position in the racing world, and I think that that's been a great advantage to the company. And I couldn't be happier at 88 years old than to be with Ford and know that I'm going to be there the rest of my life. The favorite production car would have to be the Cobra. The ones that I built sell for up to $15, $20 million now, the 6 Daytona Coupes that won the World Championship. I didn't hold on to them because used race cars used to be the most worthless thing you could own the next year. But the Cobra, we built 1,000 of them. They've maintained their price. English magazine the other day had it on the cover, said it's the most successful sport car that's ever been built. More knockoff specialists have copied it than any other car that's ever been built. It would never happen without Ford Motor Company and their support. You know, I'm 88 years old. You know, I wish I was 38 again like I was when we started. Because there's so many things that I would like to be a part of. Automobiles are going through, to me, they call it the 60s, the golden age of the automobile. And I had fun back then. Did a lot of things that I wanted to do. But we're getting into some things now that are very interesting. Electric cars, different types of fuel. They're calling them the green years. And I'd like to be around to see how this works out. I'd like to be a part of it, but at 88, you got to realize the reality of life. I won't be around to see it, but until I cross the river, I'm going to be a part of it and be interested in what's happening right now. It's very interesting.